It's simple, Clayface equals awesome villain, so we're gonna talk about him. What's up, my comic comrades? Villains Month is underway here on Variant, and in this episode, we're spotlighting one of the coolest and most loved Batman villains, Clayface. This guy has gone through quite an evolution in comics and really shined in Batman the Animated Series. He's also one of Batman's most formidable enemies, so today, we're breaking down his origins, story arcs, powers and abilities, and solid reading recommendations. He's getting the full treatment, so this will be fun. But this past weekend was also New York Comic Con, and Variant officially launched our online comic and collectibles drop shop with Whatnot. Our Buy It Now catalog is open and full of great limited run exclusives, including the Rob Liefeld Captain America 1 homage cover. However, our first live show, which is going to be a massive giveaway show, has been rescheduled to Thursday, October 26th at 12 p.m. CST. It was originally set for this afternoon at 5 p.m., but we had an opportunity to line up some additional items for the giveaway pile, and we want to bring you guys as many bangers as possible, so we decided to reschedule so we could include those as well. So again, the new date and time for our first live show is Thursday, October 26th at 12 p.m. CST. If you're not set up on Whatnot and following Variant Comics, use our link and do that now, because we are giving away thousands of dollars worth in comics in our first show, people. I'm talking about highly sought after pieces. For example, one of the giveaways is a New York Comic Con exclusive, limited to only 5 copies in the world, drawn and signed by one of the most sought after artists in comics. Bottom line, you don't want to miss it. Now, let's dive into the history of Clayface. If you weren't aware, several different people have been Clayface over the years. The first version of Clayface was Basil Karlo, first appearing in Detective Comics issue 40 in 1940. He was created by Bill Finger and Bob Kane. The next Clayface would be Matt Hagen, who first appeared in Detective Comics 298 in December of 1961. This is the modern version of Clayface we're most familiar with, and the version that appeared in Batman the Animated Series. But others to become Clayface have been Preston Payne, Sandra Fuller, Cassius Payne, Peter Mailey, Todd Russell, and Johnny Williams. Yeah, that's right, there's been 8 different versions of Clayface, but for our purposes, we're mainly going to stick to the most notable, Karlo and Hagen. With that said, let's see how Clayface becomes Clayface. The original Clayface was Basil Karlo. At the beginning of the issue, we learned that Argus Pictures is remaking a horror classic called Dread Castle, a remake which Bruce Wayne's girlfriend Julie is in. Studio head Bentley introduces Bruce to Mr. Kenneth Todd, who will be the new star of the Dread Castle, playing the Terror. He tells Bruce in the original version the role was played by the greatest character and makeup artist, Basil Karlo. Karlo then walks in saying, "Did someone say my name? Just dropped in to wish the successor to my role. Good luck. Todd, I only hope you are as smart as I was foolish. Lots of luck to you." When Karlo leaves, Bruce asks what did Karlo mean by the smart and foolish crack. Bentley tells him after he became a big star, he got into a lot of fights and went crazy. After the papers got through with him, people wouldn't see his movies if they gave away prizes. Anyway, a few days after, they would begin shooting the movie. While they're shooting a scene in which the Terror comes out to kill a girl, the comic says, a hideous face watches in the darkened corner saying, "Fools, they play at murder, not realizing that I do not pretend, but shall in reality bring death." This mystery person then turns off the lights as we hear a scream, and when the lights go back on, we see this hideous person kill the actress who was acting out the scene, with the person in the shadow saying, "The scene is finished, for death is the director." This obviously leads Batman and Robin to find out who the heck did this, especially since Batman's girlfriend is in the movie. A lead takes him to the murdered woman's boyfriend's house, who Batman and Robin find hanging on a hook in the closet. Batman takes him off saying, "Who did this to you?" And his last words are Clayface. Batman thinks to himself, who is this Clayface? Meanwhile, Robin is investigating the deserted studio grounds as he sees that a light is on the set of Dread Castle. So he goes to check it out, and when he does, Clayface jumps out, surprise attacking him. But the boy wonder is able to dodge, but then trips on a lamp, with Clayface throwing him off and Batman saving him. In the end, on the next shooting day, when Clayface is about to claim his next victim, Batman and Robin stop him and catch him. They then take off his mask, revealing it's Basil Karlo. Batman says he had played so many horror roles and pictures that they had taken possession of his mind and soul. He made a Clayface. He's made up as Clayface, one of his old roles, and then followed the plot of Dread Castle and killed each as they died in the picture. Basically, we find out that Basil was driven mad when he found out they were remaking one of his classic horror films, and I guess he didn't want to be forgotten or replaced. But there you have it, the first Clayface, Basil Karlo, who didn't have any superpowers. He was a B-list actor who went mad and dressed up as one of his old characters, Clayface. Now, my favorite Clayface is Matt Hagen, who debuted in Detective Comics 298. In the issue, Batman and Robin are accepting $100,000 from a philanthropist as a donation to the police benefit fund. It's being covered by the press as some creepy figure looks from the shadows. The figure then jumps out, showing it's a monstrous being made of clay, and then fights Batman and Robin, transforming into a snake and then eagle flying off with the money. Immediately after, we learn this monster is a man named Matt Hagen, and the comic tells us how he got his powers. We learn that sometime before this he went scuba diving in search for hidden wealth. He would end up finding an undiscovered grotto, but he would slip into the grotto, plunging into the pool of protoplasm. This sent some strange energy through his body, turning him into the shape-shifting Clayface. He just wished he could look like his normal self again, but with enough concentration, he was able to shapeshift into his old-looking self. And with even more concentration, he could turn himself into anything, as he was now a living being of clay. And with his new powers, he decided to use it to steal money and make himself rich. I will say I do prefer the Batman animated series origin of Matt Hagen Clayface, where he was a famous character actor who got into a car accident and had to use a formula called Renew You to fix his face. But an overdose that saturated every cell in his body turned him into Clayface. But that's enough origins. Let's move into story arcs and publication history.
Hold up, while we're talking monsters, you gotta check out the upcoming new puzzle RPG game, The Walking Dead Match 3 Tales. Especially if you're a fan of The Walking Dead comics. It carries the comic's original storyline in an immersive experience and includes a crazy good voice cast. Basically, you have to solve post-apocalypse puzzles to avoid becoming walker food. You know, solve to survive, you might say. And the game includes a total of 85 characters, including all the fan favorites, from Rick to Carl, Glenn, Michonne, to our favorite villains like the Governor. Each has unique character skills that enhance the fun of the gameplay. In the game, you'll defend against enemy survivor groups and walkers in a never-ending fight for survival. And as you play, you can enjoy features like collecting, upgrading characters, growth and expansion of survival bases, and battles. Not to mention, just like the comics, you'll explore, loot, and ambush outside cities and buildings to survive. This is the first puzzle game based on The Walking Dead, and you can jump on the pre-registration event for a chance to win the 20th anniversary complete collection box set of The Walking Dead comics. You can also enter to win on their Instagram page. Altogether, there will be 5 total winners, so check out our link in the description for the game, as well as their Instagram account to enter the big competition. And big thanks to The Walking Dead Match 3 Tales for sponsoring this episode.
In no particular order, just talking about good Clayface stories, we have Nowhere Man from Batman 19 and 20 of his New 52 title by Snyder and Capullo. One of the most emotional parts of the story is that it takes place right after the death of Damian Wayne. You see, Batman is at a low point when Basil Karlo Clayface decides to impersonate Bruce Wayne, doing all sorts of crimes like holding up Gotham National Bank in the very first issue of the story, and even shooting Jim Gordon center mass with a shotgun. Clayface even infiltrates Wayne Enterprises disguised as Lucius Fox as he starts attacking the real Bruce Wayne at the end of issue 19. As we go into issue 20, it's just all-out war between Bruce and Clayface, who starts chucking Batmobiles at Bruce. We also find out in this series that Clayface has evolved. In the past, he's just been a mimic, a shapeshifter, but now he's evolved to the point where if he samples a person's DNA, brushes their skin, or finds a piece of hair, he can transform into that person down to their cellular level. So with these new powers, Clayface decides to become Bruce Wayne and disrupt things in Gotham, as Bruce Wayne is the wealthiest man in the city. It's a great emotional series and one that brings new aspects to Clayface, as now he's actually able to become people's clones essentially. And we also get a cameo of an early version of the Batman Beyond suit, which Bruce uses to escape. Then we have another great Clayface story that begins in Detective Comics 934. This is when James Tynion took over the Detective Comics series, and he decided to make Clayface a good guy as part of Batman's team. In issue 934, we see Clayface has recently broken out of Arkham to go watch one of his old movies at a movie theater. But Batman and Batwoman show up with Carlo calmly saying, "See that handsome guy right there? The one with those blue eyes that look right into your soul? That's Basil Karlo." That's me. There was talk that year I might get into the Oscar race for Sirius. No joke. But then the accident happened. Look, Batman, it's one night. I just wanted one night to remember what I was before all of this. Before I became some kind of monster. It's not a long movie, 84 minutes, with credits. Just let me be that person for a bit longer. I won't even put up a fight. Batman then smirks, saying, "What if I could give you more than that, Basil? I believe the only thing different between the man sitting in front of me and the one up on that screen was an accident. I can give you your life back, Basil." You then learn that Clayface has been recruited as one of the new members of Batman and Batwoman's new team for Gotham that consists of Tim Drake Robin, spoiler, Cassandra Cain, and Clayface, with Batman and Batwoman aiming to shape them into the heroes they may become. Throughout the series, we see Clayface evolve in a way we've never seen him before. It's definitely one of the most interesting stories with the character, seeing him fight alongside other Gotham heroes. Yet again, we have yet another recent fantastic Clayface story. What can I say? In recent years, Clayface has been getting some great stories. And the next one is Batman One Bad Day Clayface, which came out earlier this year in 2023. The coolest thing for me, and I know a lot of other Batman fans about this one-shot, is that they basically give us a retelling of Clayface Clayface's origin, incorporating the iconic Batman animated series origin. Not perfectly, but definitely inspired, as we learned Basil Karlo is one of the best actors of all time. But when he became a shape-shifting monster, that set everything off the tracks. But at this point in time, he's kind of sick of battling Batman in Gotham and just wants to live his dream of continuing to be an actor, so he moves to Los Angeles, making himself a new identity auditioning for roles. However, even though he was one of the greatest actors, he may not be able to make it in LA, so he'll do what he needs to make Los Angeles accept him. It's an amazing self-contained story that kind of incorporates all elements of the character that we've come to love. Moving along, we have the story Captive Audience that begins in Batman The Dark Knight issue 24 from the New 52. The story focuses on Clayface getting a cell neighbor who thinks he's the most versatile actor who's ever lived, saying, "You're amazing. You transform yourself into anyone, and I loved you in Blood Runs Eternal." And the melting. But the terror was a masterpiece. This reignites a spark in Basil as we get a glimpse of his troubled childhood, all of which set him on a path to being liked and accepted and becoming an actor and auditioning for school plays. But he always gets rejected. This continues into his adult career, where casting directors eventually tell him, "Look, honey, we see you here all the time, and I'd be remiss not to tell you, you're not gonna make it. You're not good looking enough to be leading man material, and you're not quirky enough to be a character actor. You need a new look or vibe or something." This forces Basil to go to the Penguin to make a deal, saying, "I just want to be a movie star, Penguin." Penguin then gives him some clay substance, saying this is from an underground secret grotto, from a cave wiped off the maps. They were skinwalkers. Those people could change their shape as they please. A wolf, a bear, anything. Legend has it the grotto was the skinwalkers' temple, and this clear substance is the source of their power. And he gave it to Basil for a price, which Basil then uses to transform himself into a living being of clay so that he could be whatever the directors needed to ensure he would be a movie star. The story continues in the very next issue, where Clayface escapes Arkham and sets out to go after his old debt collector, the Penguin. Now there's a ton more Clayface stories, but we need to move on to powers and abilities. Clayface has the ability to shapeshift and change his body's forms. Even though that's not originally how Basil Karloff started off, his origin would later be updated, so essentially what DC would do is merge the Karlo and Hagen origin, giving us the modern Karlo origin. In any case, being a shapeshifter allows Clayface to turn into anything or anyone, being able to impersonate who he wants or what he wants. He could also make any of his limbs weapons like axes, maces, hammers, etc. Then as of the New 52, Clayface has even evolved to the point where he wasn't just mimicking people by shapeshifting into them, he could literally actually become them by mimicking their DNA. Because he's made out of clay, he is immune to physical attacks. He also uses clay to suffocate and smother people. He's also able to change his size to whatever he wants, and he does show some vulnerability to water and electricity, but no matter how you slice it, he's one of Batman's most formidable villains. As for Clayface reading recommendations, check out Nowhere Man from Batman 19 and 20 of the New 52, Batman Annual 11, Detective Comics 934, the Full House storyline from Batman The Dark Knight of the New 52, Earth 1 Volume 3, and of course his first appearance in Detective Comics issue 40. And this isn't a reading recommendation, but check out the Feet of Clay 2-part episode from Batman the Animated Series, and the Mudslide episode from Batman the Animated Series as well. Those episodes are actually what got me into the character, but all that should be enough to get you started. Now it's your turn. Give us some of your favorite Clayface moments down in the comments, and we'll see you next time when we talk about all things comics.